Hey everyone, this is Tankenstein coming to you live and direct from Illinois, the center of everywhere, to bring to you today your complete and thorough explanation of crew skills for naval tech trees in War Thunder. I will be going over quite a bit today, but again, primarily just when it comes to those crew skills and what they do. Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe. But without further ado, let's get into it. And I'll try to make this brief. So let's start off with the first thing that you see, and that's on the Ship Commander tab here when it comes to leadership. And essentially what leadership is, this is a skill in which you can increase, and it gives you a bonus multiplier for all of the other skills, well, for the most part, that you can have for your ship, with the exception of repair rank, and I believe there may be no other one. So yes, it would just be repair rank. And this is an extremely important skill, as it just increases, again, the effectiveness of all of these skills, or all the skills under each of these tabs. Crew interchangeability, this is one that's not really all too well explained on the explanation here, so I'll go into it a little bit further. When you get into a match and you look on the bottom right hand corner of your screen, you'll see a 94% or an 80% or whatever the case may be, and there's a picture of basically a crew member there. That is what this multiplies. So in order to get that to 100%, not only do you need to have this at 5 points in total, but you need to have an expert rating, and then you also need to have it aced, and then you need to have leadership, all to get it to 100%. So it's a really useful skill to have, because this essentially gives you more crew members. It doesn't technically add to your crew count. So for example, as you can see down here, and also right here, it says I have 582 crew. I'll put this up, and it does not increase my crew count. However, that is essentially the effect that it is. It just makes it so that your crew can survive heavier losses, essentially what the explanation says there, but again, it's a little bit more in depth than that. Radio communication, essentially, this is more or less kind of how it is in the other versions, or the other parts of the game, mainly air and ground. This just basically is the range in which you can see your allies, or this is the range in which your allies can transmit data as to how far away, or what really just where enemy positioning is. It's not really all too complicated, and again, this is really something that is very important, especially when it comes to the extremely long ranges of ship-to-ship combat, sometimes going well over 10 kilometers, especially in 5.0 and above. Observation, this one is just really when it comes to making sure that this is a very defensive skill set. So air target detection distance, this is exactly how it sounds. You can get up to 10 kilometers, at least in arcade. It's a little bit lower in realistic. And this just kind of determines how far you can see enemy planes, typically bombers, coming towards you. Again, I mean, there's only so far that you can shoot accurately, but it is really nice to have that advanced warning, which is what this provides. Surface target detection distance, essentially the same idea, except what it is just how far you can see when it comes to just, again, various ships and whatnot, rather than aircraft. And it's a bit farther than that, but that's just kind of the overall distance all around you. It's quite a bit farther than the 1.5. So enemy torpedo distance, this is essentially, again, the distance in which you can detect torpedoes coming towards you. This is extremely important, but one thing that you can do is you can just kind of constantly check the water, especially when you see a warship kind of making a quick turn a few kilometers away, or a torpedo boat kind of getting really close and then making a quick turn. You can see torpedoes visually without having to have the detection distance being active. So the detection distance will make it so that you see a red marker, basically, to show where the torpedoes are. And you can just kind of, again, visually see it. It looks like a lighter blue streak coming towards you if they ended up actually targeting it that accurately. For engine room, this is fairly obvious. Ship control, this is just more or less kind of the the delay, the lag time in which you press, let's say you want to take a right turn, you press the right turn control, whatever it may be, on your computer or console, or the left turn control. This is how long it takes for you to kind of have the complete motion over to one way or another. And the same thing goes with ship engine mode changing time. That's just how fast it goes from one speed to the next. So whether it's from full speed to full reverse, this is about how long it might take for it to kind of change. Gunners is fairly, again, most of these are fairly explanatory. There are a few different ones that you might need, again, some explanations with, and that's why I'm making this video. But this one is fairly obvious. So this is just kind of determining how fast it takes for your guns to reload. And this might not be all too obvious, but one way that you can check. So again, this is the Emden. You just want to go over the main caliber gun here. You can see the fire rate is 6 rounds per minute, and the reload rate is 8.6 seconds for those guns. That's just assuming, again, that you have max crew, I guess you could say max crew capacity at the time. So if I do this, and I look, it went down by 0.1 seconds. So it's a little bit of a change, but it is still noticeable, and especially when you're firing 15 centimeter or more rounds, it does make quite a big difference. So going back to this, auxiliary caliber reload speed, essentially the same thing. This is just for your auxiliary guns. So in this case, the 10.5s, wherever they are, let me just double check here. I believe the 10.5 would be right here. So that just kind of determines the rate at which these get reloaded, and it kind of goes down the line here as well for AAA caliber, so anti-aircraft reload speed. And these are just when it comes to the accuracies, because the auxiliary and the AAA, the anti-aircraft guns, typically are computer controlled. This is a very important, both of these are extremely important when it comes to the accuracy, because it doesn't matter how fast you shoot. If you can't hit your target, it won't matter. So you do want to get these prioritized as well. Really, just the whole gunner tab is extremely important. And when it comes to the distance fuse set accuracy, this is most important, I would say, for anti-aircraft. And the reason being is because if you have your distance fuse set for 5,000 meters, and you've determined that that's approximately where you will hit the aircraft, if it does not blow up, then you will not get that flak effect. Of course, it is extremely possible, especially with anti-aircraft fire, to just kind of pelt an enemy to death with lead, but this makes it so that your shells blow up in front of them, next to them, and really it makes it quite a bit easier to take them out. So you want to make sure that this is really good, but you can kind of circumvent this by having good anti-aircraft gun accuracy. So it's still an important skill. It might just not be the most important, at least on the gun tab. Damage control, this is something that for the most part is fairly obvious. These three you will encounter fairly often. Survive leadership is a bit different. So when it comes to unwatering time, this basically just makes it so that the maximum time that it could take for you to basically clear all the water out of your ship is right here. And this isn't to say that this will be the time every time that you have to get water out of your ship, but rather the maximum amount of time that it would take with the current crew that you have, with max crew, to get basically X amount, 99% of water out of your ship. It'll take 24 seconds if you have nothing else going on. Fire extinguisher is fairly similar. This is basically just the ability by which your crew takes to just extinguish fires. The top is 5 seconds in arcade, and the base is 10 seconds. So really, again, these are all very optimistic figures, and they're all kind of dependent on having max crew at a time. The thing that makes naval combat so unique is that rather than 5 crew with tanks, 4 crew, 6 crew, whatever the case may be, or 2 or 5 or however many crew with aircraft, you have hundreds of crew on larger ships. And really each individual crew member is kind of a fraction of a percent when it comes down to the primary stats here. So your maximum on watering time, your fire extinguishing time, and all that, this is all based on how many crew you have. So when you see the maximum repair time at 11.32 seconds, it might be significantly higher if your ship is really hurting for crew. If you have 20% crew, then your ship maximum repair time may be significantly higher. And survive leadership, this is essentially just the ability by which, like when you do unwatering, fire extinguishing, and repairing, that really makes everything very slow. By doing one or the other simultaneously, it makes the other one slower. It's kind of like having one person on one side of a gas pump and another on another side of the gas pump pumping at the same time. It just makes both of them slower. Of course, you get the same result. It just takes a longer period of time. And that's kind of what this helps to prevent. And that's also another important thing. You will reload slower oftentimes, especially when you have fewer crew to compensate, when you have a lot of damage and you are trying to repair or extinguish fires or unwater your ship. So that's all a lot that you have to kind of consider. If you know that you're going to die, in just about 2 seconds, and you need to get those rounds off, it might just help not to do that, just so you can reload a little bit more quickly. And finally, when it comes to logistical services, you have your repair speed and repair rank. These are not really all too important in the grand scheme of things. There's very few people that would really care about these. And it's one of those things that this does carry over between naval, ground, and air vehicles. And it's just, again, one of those things that you see here. This is just really you're not going to use this unless you kind of get into a match, you choose not to repair your ship at the end of it, and then you let your ship sit for a few days. That's really all that this does. And repair rank is essentially the ability to just repair a higher rank ship. In this case, the MDIN is a rank 4. I don't believe that there's above a rank 5. Maybe there's a rank 6 in the game, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, rank 5 is the maximum that you can get right now. So it's not all too important of a skill. But if you do decide for whatever reason to not repair your ship after a match, then maybe that's a good skill for you. Either way, this is Tankenstein. I hope you guys got a lot from this video. I tried explaining some things. I know a lot of it's kind of obvious, but there are a few things that might not be too obvious, and some other things like putting your view on X-ray, and then you can see your accurate reload rate. So either way, remember, again, please like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you guys all on the other side. Again, thanks so much for watching my video, and take care, everyone.